The camera fades in on the shimmering glass facade of the Seattle Art Museum. The sound of soft jazz fills the air as guests wander through the evening exhibit. Elegant, rich, untouchable. Autumn Reed steps through the grand entrance, heels echoing on marble. Her face is calm, but her hands tremble slightly as she adjusts the strap of her purse. Tonight wasn't about business or boardrooms. It was supposed to be her escape. One quiet night surrounded by art instead of shareholders. She moves toward a massive Rothko painting, its deep reds reflecting on her skin. Then she freezes. Across the gallery, Preston Caldwell III, the man who'd humiliated her 2 years ago. The ex-fiancé who left her standing alone in front of 300 guests and photographers, veil trembling, heart shattered. And now he's here, laughing, talking, looking straight at her. Autumn's heartbeat spikes. Her throat tightens. She's a CEO of a $200 million company, but right now she feels like a teenager cornered at prom. She turns too quickly, bumping into someone solid, a tall man, early 40s, deep brown skin, sharp charcoal suit, calm eyes fixed on the painting in front of him. "Oh, I'm so sorry," she blurts out. The man turns slowly. "No harm done," he says, voice smooth, deep. Then she hears it. That voice she dreads. "Autumn." "There you are." Preston's tone slices through the air. Confident, possessive. He's already walking toward her. Panic floods her chest. She can't do this again. Not with him. Not here. Her brain shuts off. Instinct takes over. Autumn grabs the stranger's hand, warm, steady, unfamiliar, and blurts out, "Darling, there you are. I've been looking everywhere for you." The man blinks once, surprised, but he doesn't pull away. Instead, something shifts in his expression. Amusement, maybe understanding. He squeezes her hand gently and smiles down at her. "Sorry, sweetheart," he says, effortlessly playing along. "You know how I lose track of time when I'm staring at a Rothko." Her breath catches. Preston stops short, confusion flickering in his perfect smile. "Well," he says, eyes darting between them, "I didn't realize you were seeing someone." Autumn forces a polite laugh. "Things change." "This is my boyfriend," she adds quickly, "Julian Foster." Julian extends his free hand. "Nice to meet you." Preston shakes it, the grip tight, fake. His gaze lingers on Julian, assessing, judging, his smile thinning by the second. Then the poison slips through. "Foster, huh? I don't believe we've met. How exactly do you two know each other?" "Through work," Autumn says too fast. "Julian's been consulting for my company." Preston smirks. "Consulting? How interesting." Julian's voice remains calm. "Yes, very interesting." The silence stretches. Finally, Preston mutters, "Well, I'll let you two enjoy your evening," and walks away. Autumn exhales, realizing she's still gripping Julian's hand. "Oh my God," she whispers, "that was insane. I'm so sorry. Julian's smile is easy, genuine. "No need to apologize. Exes can be dangerous territory." Autumn laughs, the sound shaky but real. "I owe you," she says softly. "Then buy me coffee," Julian replies, still holding her hand. "We can call it even." The camera lingers as they share their first real smile. Two strangers whose fates just collided. In the most unexpected way, rain traces silver streaks down the cafe windows as soft jazz hums in the background. The camera pans across the quiet room before stopping at a corner table. 2 cups of coffee, one untouched, steam curling lazily upward. Autumn Reed sits opposite Julian Foster. For once, her posture isn't perfect. Her blazer's folded on the chair beside her, her hair slightly damp from the rain. She looks more human than powerful. "I still can't believe I did that," she says, laughing nervously. "Grabbed a stranger's hand like I was in some bad romantic comedy." Julian smiles. "You'd be surprised how often people do desperate things at art galleries." "You mean panic-grabbing innocent bystanders?" He shakes his head, eyes warm. "I mean trying to escape their past." For a second, her smile falters. "You saw him, didn't you?" "Hard not to," Julian replies. "He looked like the type who talks louder than he listens." Autumn leans back, sighing. "That's one way to put it. Preston Caldwell, my ex. Left me at the altar. 300 guests, cameras, my mother in full society meltdown. Julian winces. That's brutal. I almost moved to San Francisco just to avoid seeing his face again. Julian takes a slow sip of his coffee, studying her. And yet you stayed. Yeah. Autumn looks out the window. Because I built my company here. Reed Technologies. My team, my dream, my name. I couldn't let one man erase that. There's quiet admiration in Julian's eyes. So you turned pain into progress. I guess so. She looks at him again. What about you? You look too calm to be startled by a crazy woman grabbing your hand. Julian chuckles. I'm a civil rights attorney. I'm used to surprises, and to helping people in messes. Her eyebrows lift. Civil rights? That's heavy. It's meaningful, he says. My father did it before me. Spent his life fighting discrimination cases. I followed in his footsteps. Maybe stubbornly, maybe proudly. Depends who you ask. Your father must have been proud. Julian's expression softens. He passed away 5 years ago. Heart attack. He worked himself too hard for too long. I'm sorry, Autumn says gently. He nods. He believed justice mattered more than rest. They sit in silence for a beat. Not awkward, but thoughtful. Autumn traces the rim of her cup. You know, most men I meet only talk about money or power. You talk about purpose. Julian grins. And most women I meet don't run companies worth $200 million. She laughs, then shakes her head. Don't remind me. Some days it feels like a curse more than an accomplishment. How so? Because people see the title, not the person. The CEO, not Autumn. Julian studies her face, and for the first time, she feels seen. Really seen. Right now, he says quietly. I see someone who's tired of pretending she's okay. Her breath catches. No one's ever said that to her. Outside, thunder rumbles faintly. Inside, the tension hums. She breaks it with a nervous laugh. You're very observant for someone I met 30 minutes ago. It's part of the job, he replies softly. I read people, but you don't fit the file. Autumn looks down, hiding her smile. And what's the file say? That you're brave enough to grab a stranger's hand, but scared to let anyone hold it for real. The silence that follows is electric. The air feels thicker, heavier, real. Autumn glances at her phone. Unread messages, missed calls, a life that never stops demanding. Then she looks back at Julian. Calm, grounded, unexpected. Maybe, she says quietly. You're right. The barista calls out another order. The city hums outside. For the first time in years, Autumn Reed doesn't feel alone. The scene opens on the reflection of city lights dancing on wet pavement. Julian's car slows to a stop outside a small Ethiopian restaurant tucked between two tall buildings. The warm golden glow inside spills out through the windows, cutting through the cool Seattle night. Autumn looks up from the passenger seat, curiosity flickering across her face. This is where we're eating? Julian smiles as he shuts off the engine. Don't worry. No board members here. Just good food and loud laughter. She laughs softly. That's refreshing. Inside, the restaurant feels alive. Soft jazz playing, colorful murals, families chatting in a mix of languages. A woman behind the counter greets Julian with a wide smile. Julian, you haven't brought someone here in a long time, she teases. Julian grins. Desta, meet Autumn. Be kind. She's new to Injera. Autumn laughs, shaking the woman's hand. I'll try to survive. They sit at a small round table with a woven basket at its center. The smell of spices, cinnamon, cloves, roasted pepper, fills the air. Julian orders the traditional platter. No menus needed. As they wait, Autumn studies him. You're regular here. I grew up in this neighborhood, he says. My dad used to bring me here every week. Desta basically raised half the kids in this block. There's warmth in his voice, the kind that can't be faked. The food arrives. Bright colors, soft bread, stews rich with spice. Julian tears off a piece of injera and shows her how to scoop it. Autumn mimics him, laughs when a bit of sauce drips on her sleeve. This is amazing. I don't think I've ever had food like this. Julian nods, eyes shining. It's more than food. It's memory. For a moment, they both fall quiet, just two people sharing a meal that feels oddly intimate. Autumn's phone buzzes. She flips it face down without looking. Everything okay? Julian asks. Yeah, she says. Just the usual chaos. I spend half my life glued to that phone. Tonight I'd rather not, he smiles approvingly. Good, you're allowed to exist outside notifications. Autumn laughs, a sound freer, lighter than before. You make that sound so simple. It is, if you want it to be. Her laughter fades, replaced by something softer. You really don't get fazed by anything, do you? I've seen a lot, Julian says. Angry clients, impossible cases, people breaking down in courtrooms. After that, a little spilled coffee or awkward dinner doesn't scare me. Autumn tilts her head. So what does scare you? He pauses, his gaze steady. Losing people who matter. The words hang in the air. Autumn's voice lowers. I know that fear too well. They sit quietly, the city's rhythm pulsing faintly outside the window. When the plates are empty, Julian signals for the check. There's something else I want to show you, he says. Minutes later, they're walking side by side down a narrow street lined with old shops and twinkling string lights. The air is cool, the world unusually quiet. Autumn hugs her coat close. I can't remember the last time I just walked without rushing somewhere. Then you're overdue. A gust of wind makes her shiver. Without a word, Julian takes off his jacket and drapes it over her shoulders. She looks up, surprised, caught between gratitude and something deeper. Thank you, she murmurs. You're welcome, he replies. Voice low. They stop beneath a flickering streetlight. Autumn meets his gaze, and for the first time, there's no pretense, no performance, no walls. Just two people suspended in a quiet moment they didn't expect. I'm glad you grabbed my hand, Julian says softly. Me too, she whispers. The light above them glows warmer for a beat, and the scene fades as they stand there. A pause before everything changes. Morning sunlight spills across the sleek glass walls of Reed Technologies. The hum of the city below mixes with the steady rhythm of keyboards and murmured voices. Autumn walks through the corridor, coffee in hand, heels clicking in controlled confidence, the mask of a CEO perfectly in place. But inside, she's replaying last night. The laughter, the quiet walk, the way Julian's jacket smelled faintly of rain and warmth. For the first time in years, she'd felt something real, something alive. Her assistant, Kim, intercepts her near the office door. Your mother called 3 times, she says cautiously. Said it's urgent. Autumn exhales. Of course she did. The moment she steps into her office, the phone rings again. She stares at it for a long second before answering. Mother? Autumn Elizabeth Reed? Margaret's voice cuts like a blade. You didn't return my calls. I've been busy running a company, Autumn replies coolly. Too busy to remember how you're supposed to behave in public? Autumn's grip tightens on the receiver. What's that supposed to mean? I saw the photos, her mother says sharply. You and that man at some street restaurant. Holding hands, laughing. Autumn, do you realize what people are saying? Autumn freezes. You've been reading gossip blogs again. This isn't gossip, it's reputation. Margaret snaps. You're the CEO of a major tech firm and he's… Don't, Autumn warns. Her voice drops low. Don't finish that sentence, but her mother doesn't stop. He's not like us, Autumn. People notice these things. The board will notice. Investors. You worked your entire life to earn respect. Don't throw it away for an experiment. Autumn's heart pounds, anger building with every word. You mean because he's black? The silence on the line is long and heavy. I mean because the world isn't kind to people who cross lines they shouldn't. Margaret says finally, her voice quieter but no less cruel. You know how people talk. Don't be naive. Autumn feels something inside her snap, a thin wire that's been holding her calm in place for years. You know what's naive, Mother? She says evenly, believing that skin color has anything to do with worth. Julian is kind. He's brilliant. He's more of a gentleman than anyone in your precious circles. Autumn. No, I'm done letting fear dictate who I love or what I deserve. I've lived my whole life trying to make you proud, to be perfect enough for your world, and all it's ever given me is shame. The silence that follows is sharp enough to hurt. You sound just like your father, Margaret whispers. Too emotional, too reckless. Maybe that's the best compliment you've ever given me, Autumn says softly, and ends the call. For a moment, she just stands there, staring out the window, her reflection faint against the skyline. Her hands shake, but her voice, when she finally speaks, is steady. She picks up her phone, types one message. "Lunch? I need to see you." Julian's reply comes seconds later. "Name the place." "I'm there." The next shot fades to a cozy cafe near the courthouse. Autumn sits across from Julian, her face tired but determined. She said, "I'm embarrassing the family, that I'm throwing away my career." Julian listens quietly, hands wrapped around his mug. "I'm sorry," he says finally. "You shouldn't have to defend love to your own mother." Autumn's voice cracks. "I didn't even realize how deep her prejudice ran until today. And it hurt, Julian. Not because she disapproves, but because part of me expected it." He reaches across the table, covering her hand with his. "You did the right thing. You stood up for what's right, not just for us, but for yourself." She looks at him, eyes glistening. "You really think this can work? You and me?" Julian smiles faintly. "I think it already is." She squeezes his hand. "Then let's prove everyone wrong." He nods. "Together." As the camera pulls back through the cafe window, the rain begins again, soft and rhythmic, washing the city clean. The scene opens with a soft knock on Autumn's apartment door. She stands in front of a mirror, adjusting her jacket for the 10th time. Her reflection looks confident, but the tremor in her hands gives her away. Julian had invited her to dinner, to meet his family. She's faced investors worth billions, negotiated with venture capitalists twice her age, but somehow this feels harder. The doorbell rings again. She exhales and opens it. Julian stands there, smiling in that quiet, grounding way he always does. He's wearing a dark sweater and jeans, effortlessly handsome. "You look nervous," he says gently. "I look terrified," she admits. He chuckles. "You'll be fine. They're a lot, but they're good people. A lot, as in loud. A lot, as in, they'll interrogate you lovingly," Julian says with a grin. "My mom will hug you before she even asks your name." Autumn laughs softly. "I'm not sure I'm ready for that." "Sure you are," he says, offering his hand. "You already survived your mother. You can handle mine." Cut 2. A small house in Rainier Valley. It's nothing like Autumn's penthouse. Warm lights, the smell of home cooking, laughter spilling through the windows, children's voices echo somewhere in the background. Julian's mom, Patricia, opens the door, apron dusted with flour. "So you're the woman who's got my son smiling like a fool lately," she says, pulling Autumn straight into a hug. Autumn freezes for half a second, then melts into it. "Guilty," she says softly. Inside, the house is alive. Photos cover the walls. Graduations, family barbecues, a faded picture of Julian's father shaking hands with civil rights leaders. The table is set for 10. Julian's sister Nicole waves from the kitchen. "So, this is the famous CEO. I half expected you to show up with security." Autumn laughs, cheeks flushed. "Not tonight. Just me." As everyone gathers around the table, conversation flows easily. Patricia keeps refilling plates with fried chicken and mac and cheese. Autumn tries to protest. Fails. "Mama Grace isn't here yet," Julian says as he pours water into glasses. "Mama Grace?" Autumn asks. "My grandmother," Julian explains. "She's the real head of the family. She's traditional." The door opens before he finishes. A small, elegant woman in her 70s enters, leaning on a cane but moving with quiet authority. Her eyes, sharp and observant, land on Autumn immediately. "So," Mama Grace says, setting down her purse. "This the woman my grandson can't stop talking about?" Autumn stands, extending her hand respectfully. "It's an honor to meet you, ma'am." Mama Grace studies her face for a long moment before smiling faintly. "We'll see if you still say that after dinner." Laughter fills the room, breaking the tension. As they eat, the conversation turns to stories. Julian's childhood, his father's legacy, family jokes. Autumn listens, laughing along, but she feels the weight of every glance Mama Grace gives her. Not cruel, but measuring. Finally, when the dishes are cleared, Mama Grace gestures to the couch. "Come sit with me, child." Autumn sits beside her, heartbeat quickening. "You love my grandson?" Mama Grace asks simply. "Yes," Autumn answers without hesitation. "More than I expected to. And you know what that means?" Autumn nods. "That it won't always be easy. that people will stare, judge, whisper, but I'm not afraid anymore. Mama Grace studies her, eyes softening. Good, because loving a black man in this world means you'll need more than love. You'll need courage. I see that courage in you. Autumn's eyes glisten. Thank you. I promise I'll never make him feel small for being who he is. Mama Grace smiles warmly. Then, welcome to the family, Autumn Reed. Julian, watching from across the room, exhales in quiet relief. Later, as they leave the house, the kids wave from the porch, calling her Aunt Autumn. Patricia hands her a slice of pie for the road. Mama Grace gives her a wink. In the car, Autumn laughs, finally breathing again. I think I just survived your family. Julian grins, taking her hand. You didn't just survive. You passed. Passed? There's always a test, he says with a teasing smirk. You aced it. Autumn leans back in her seat, smiling softly. It felt like home. Julian looks at her, his voice low. That's because you belong there. They drive off into the Seattle night. City lights flickering through the windshield. Two worlds slowly becoming one. Rain glistens off the steps of the Four Seasons Hotel as luxury cars pull up one by one. Cameras flash, guests in glittering gowns and tuxedos glide inside. Tonight is Reed Technologies' annual Investor Gala, the kind of event that shapes reputations and headlines. Autumn Reed steps out of her car, confidence etched on her face but tension coiled beneath it. She's dressed in a midnight blue gown that moves like water when she walks. Her hair falls in loose waves, diamond earrings catching the light. Beside her, Julian steps out wearing a perfectly fitted black tuxedo, calm, grounded. Every inch the man who stands proudly beside her, not as a guest, but as her partner. He offers his hand. You ready for this? Autumn takes a breath. I was born ready, but maybe stay close. Always, Julian says, and they walk in together. Inside, the ballroom glows with chandeliers and quiet tension. Conversations pause as the power couple of the night arrives, but this time whispers ripple through the crowd. Eyes dart, some smile politely. Others stare too long. Autumn feels it. The shift in the air. The judgment. The curiosity. The quiet racism dressed in designer labels. Julian squeezes her hand lightly, grounding her. Ignore them, he murmurs. We're here together. That's all that matters. Charles Hammond, the oldest board member, approaches with a strained smile. Autumn, he says. And Mr. Foster, was it? What a surprise. Julian, she corrects firmly. He's my guest tonight. And my boyfriend. Charles's fake smile tightens. Of course. Well, enjoy the evening. As he walks away, Julian smirks. Was that a threat or a blessing? Both, Autumn mutters. Hours pass. The night moves with forced elegance. They dance once, slow and quiet, pretending not to notice the stares. When Julian spins her, she laughs, genuinely, and for a moment the noise fades. Then it happens. Autumn, a slurred voice calls out from across the ballroom. Preston Caldwell. Her ex. Drunk, disheveled. The same man who left her at the altar, now stumbling toward her through a sea of tuxedos. Preston. Leave, she says sharply, but he doesn't. He's smirking, loud, desperate for attention. Just thought I'd come congratulate you. You've really traded up, huh? His eyes flick to Julian, or maybe down, depending on how you look at it. The room goes still. A silence heavy enough to crush breath. Julian stays calm, hands at his sides, voice steady. You've had enough to drink, Preston. Oh, don't play the hero. Preston sneers. What's your angle, huh? You saving the poor rich girl from her loneliness. Or she's saving you from poverty. A few gasps ripple through the crowd. Someone mutters, "This is getting ugly." Autumn steps forward, voice trembling with anger. You need to stop. But Preston laughs, loud and cruel. Come on, Autumn, let's be real. You think anyone in this room believes this? You, the perfect Reed Technologies queen. With him? The next sound is sharp and echoes through the ballroom. A slap. Autumn's hand trembles in the air. Preston's cheek burns red. Get out, she says, her voice low, shaking with fury. Now. Two security guards appear, dragging him away as he hurls curses over his shoulder. All eyes are still on her. Silence stretches again, the kind that feels like forever. Autumn turns to the crowd, heart pounding. Her voice is clear, strong, defiant. For those wondering, this is Julian Foster. He's a civil rights attorney, Harvard Law graduate, and partner at one of the top firms in the city. He's brilliant. He's kind. And yes, we're together. She takes Julian's hand and lifts it slightly, refusing to break eye contact with anyone. If that bothers you, the door is right there. The room freezes. Then, slowly, one person claps. Lily Chen, the youngest board member. Then another. Then more. Half the room joins in applause. The other half looks uncomfortable. But it doesn't matter. Julian looks at her, pride burning in his eyes. "You didn't have to do that," he says softly. "Yes," she whispers. "I did." He takes her hand, pulling her close as the music starts again. Soft, slow, defiant. As they dance, Autumn rests her head on his shoulder, tears threatening. "I just made a lot of enemies tonight," she murmurs. Julian smiles. "Maybe, but you also showed them what strength looks like." The camera pans out, catching the chandelier's reflection on the marble floor. Two figures dancing against a world that's still learning to change. The next morning dawns gray and heavy over Seattle. The world hasn't moved on from the gala. Autumn Reed wakes to the sound of her phone buzzing endlessly. Emails, texts, missed calls, headlines. Her publicist's voice is already leaving voicemails. "You need to respond to this now." She rolls over, exhausted. Julian stirs beside her, still half asleep. "Bad?" he murmurs. "Worse," she whispers, unlocking her phone. The screen floods with notifications. Tech CEO slaps ex at gala over new boyfriend. Reed's romance scandal rocks investors. Who is Julian Foster? The man behind the drama. Autumn closes her eyes, heart pounding. They've turned it into a circus. Julian sits up, calm as ever. "Then we control the story. You did what was right," her voice cracks. "And now my board wants an emergency meeting." He cups her face gently. "You stood up for love, Autumn. That's not a scandal. That's courage." She nods faintly, but fear lingers in her eyes. Courage doesn't keep investors happy. The next scene cuts to Reed Technologies' glass conference room. Tense, silent, judgmental. The entire board sits around the table, led by Charles Hammond, his expression tight with restrained anger. "This," he begins, gesturing toward the projected headline, "is precisely what we feared. Your personal life has now become company liability." Autumn keeps her posture straight, her voice calm. "My personal life is not your business." Charles leans forward. "It is when our stock drops 2 points overnight. When clients are calling. When a racist ex crashes a private event and insults my partner in public." Autumn cuts in sharply. "That's what really happened. Let's not rewrite it." The room goes silent. Another board member clears her throat. "Autumn, no one's questioning your right to love who you want, but perception matters." "Perception?" Autumn echoes. "You mean comfort. You mean pretending that being a woman CEO dating a black man makes you uneasy. You want me quiet, polished, controlled, but that's not who I am anymore." Charles's tone hardens. "Be careful, Autumn." "No," she says firmly, standing. "You be careful, because this company was built on integrity. And if any of you think I'll apologize for defending the man I love, you can find another CEO." A stunned pause follows. Even the hum of the air conditioner feels loud. Lily Chen breaks the silence first. "I was at the gala," she says. "Preston Caldwell was drunk, aggressive, and disgusting. Autumn handled it with more grace than anyone else in this room could have. And, frankly, I'm proud to work for a leader who doesn't tolerate hate." Autumn exhales, grateful. "Thank you, Lily." Charles mutters something under his breath and gathers his papers. "This discussion isn't over." "Yes," Autumn says, her tone final. "It is." She leaves the room with her head high, the glass doors closing behind her. Later, she walks into her office. Julian's there, waiting, tie loosened, a takeout lunch spread across her desk. "How bad?" he asks gently. "Bad," she admits. Then, with a faint smile, "But I might have just fired a board member." Julian laughs softly. "That's my girl." She leans into his chest, tension finally breaking. "I'm so tired of pretending to be perfect." "Good," he says, brushing a thumb across her cheek. "Because real is better. Her phone buzzes again. This time she reads the message and smiles. What is it? Julian asks. A text from one of my engineers, she says, voice trembling slightly. She's black. She said, "Thank you for standing up for him. For us. Now I feel like I belong here." Julian's eyes soften. That's the power of visibility. Autumn nods. We didn't just survive last night. We started something. They stand in the soft glow of the office, the skyline stretching behind them, two people against the noise of the world. Stronger together. Autumn looks at Julian, voice full of quiet conviction. I used to think success was about money and power, but now I think it's about love that doesn't hide. Julian smiles, his voice steady and low. Then you're already winning. They kiss, not the rushed passion of panic, but the calm certainty of two people who've finally chosen to stop running. They said her love would destroy her. Instead, it made her stronger. Because real power isn't in titles or wealth. It's in the courage to love without fear. If you believe love can still break barriers, share this story right now. And don't forget to subscribe, because next time, you'll see what happens when kindness meets courage again. A few months later, the city glows gold beneath a summer sunset. Reed Technologies is thriving again, stronger than ever. The media storm has faded, replaced by headlines about Autumn's leadership and Julian's landmark civil rights case. They meet at the Seattle Art Museum, the same place where everything began. Autumn walks through the gallery, heels echoing softly against marble floors. Julian waits by the Rothko painting, dressed in a dark suit, holding a single white rose. She smiles. "You're early. Couldn't risk missing the place where I fell in love," he says. They stand together in silence for a moment, gazing at the painting that started it all. "Remember that night?" she asks softly. "I grabbed your hand because I was scared." Julian takes her hand again, gently. "And I held on because I wasn't." He drops to one knee, the crowd around them fading to whispers. "Autumn Reed, you turned one desperate moment into the best thing that ever happened to me. You faced the world for us, stood tall when it was hardest, and showed me what courage really looks like. Will you marry me?" Tears fill her eyes as she laughs through them. "Yes. 1,000 times, yes." Applause ripples through the gallery as he slips the ring on her finger. She pulls him into a kiss, soft, certain, forever. She grabbed his hand to escape her past, never knowing it would lead her to her future. Because sometimes love doesn't wait for the perfect moment. It just asks for your courage. If you believe real love can break every barrier, share this story right now. And don't forget to subscribe, because next time, another story will remind you that kindness always wins.